Who is the fastest self-made billionaire ever? While it took Warren Buffett 55 years to join the Billionaires Club, Jay Walker literally did it in less than a year. He launched Priceline.com during the dot-com bubble and his net worth instantly jumped from zero to billions. But that wasn't sustainable because when the bubble burst, his net worth crashed as well, while Buffett is still on the top of the list, and he doesn't seem to go anywhere anytime soon. And that's the kind of wealth you want to build. The game of money isn't easy, it's tough, competitive, and ruthless, and if you don't know the rules, you are doomed to fail. The problem with most people is that they might work hard their entire lives, but end up poor at the end of the journey because they don't know how the game works. So if you want to find yourself on the other side of the coin, you better master the rules first. Number 1. Money does grow on trees. I am sure that many of you have been taught the opposite, but the reality is that if you do not operate from this perspective, you will be poor forever. You can't trade your time for money your entire life. That's why you need to plant trees that will earn you money when you are not there. It's not as easy as it sounds. Do you know how difficult it is to plant a tree? First, you need to plant the seed, but the seed is useless if it's not planted in a nutrient-rich soil. The tree isn't going to grow by itself. You need to water it and take care of it, and it's definitely not going to grow overnight. Some trees literally grow for 10, 20 or even 30 years. But once it grows up, it will keep producing fruits with minimum effort. The same goes to assets. Once you build up a business or save up enough to make a good investment, it keeps generating income, even if you're not there. Because at some point you might get old or sick, you won't be able to sustain your job. So even if you're making like $500 an hour, you could get back poor instantly if you haven't planted enough trees in your garden. Next, there is no limit to how much you can spend. I remember when I was living paycheck to paycheck, I was on an extremely tight budget. I used to think that if I would be making even slightly more than I do now, I will start investing. But what ended up happening is that I just started spending more. In fact, when I started making multiple times more, all that happened is my expenses just kept getting higher and higher. If you do not budget and discipline yourself to stick to a certain budget, you won't be able to save money to invest even if you make like $100,000 a month. There are infinite ways you can spend that $100,000. So instead of constantly pushing that investing line higher and higher, discipline yourself to stick to a smaller budget. If Elon Musk could survive on $1 a day in United States, you will definitely survive with a few $100. Don't get me wrong, enjoy the money you earn with your hard work, travel or do whatever you desire, but stick to a budget that's lower than your income because you have to acquire assets. Number 3. Money is a lifelong game. When I got serious about money and investing, I've had this image in my mind that when I start making so and so, I won't need to stick to a specific budget and I will finally retire and enjoy the fruits of my hard work. But all what happened when I started making that much is that I realized that's not enough and I have to make much more. In fact, even all the passive income sources that I have built weren't as passive as I thought. They needed to be managed. In fact, if you stop managing them, they will stop generating income. Just because you purchased a house, you instantly won't find tenants. If you don't take care of it, it might even turn into a liability. The idea where you create an asset and literally do nothing is just nonsense. Even if you build a successful business, you will have competitors who will try to take you down every single day. So forget the idea of retiring one day. Of course, you can automate some of your duties, decrease your working hours, but in general, this game never ends as long as you're alive. And a clear example is world's richest people who continue to work even if they don't have to. The next rule is probably the most important lesson in this video. Money won't solve your insecurities. We all have insecurities, and a lot of times we buy that expensive car or move to a bigger house or buy a newer phone because we want to be accepted or admired. That expensive car will make you feel good for a week or two, but then it will become normal. But your insecurity won't go away. So you would want a better and more expensive car. It's a never-ending cycle that keeps people who make a lot of money poor. If it's acceptance you're seeking, then learn how to better manage your emotions. The truth is that your insecurities will drain down your bank account but will still stay there. Instead, improve your social skills, learn how to boost your confidence. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy an expensive car or a private jet. Go ahead and buy whatever you desire, but don't do it to feel your insecurities. There are far better and cheaper ways to do that. Number 5. Don't let anyone know that you have money. We love to brag about how much money we make. At the end of the day, in the age of capitalism, that's what defines your social status. At least that's how most people think. But the problem is that money is like a magnet. Suddenly people will be nice to you because everyone wants a piece of it. Of course, it will make you feel good and respected, but that comes at a price that's not really worth it. And if they won't be able to get it in a nice way, they will sue you and get it hard way. That's the reality we live in. Even if you, God forbid, make $1 million a year, don't let anyone know. Stay humble, don't brag about it, and keep making more. Number 6. Greatest wealth transfers happen during crises. When the economy crashed in 2008, the unemployment rate skyrocketed because the companies couldn't keep paying the bills. Millions of people became jobless, homeless, and poor. However, some people aggressively began investing and became much wealthier after the crisis because the biggest transfers of wealth take place in crises. If you're ready to grasp the opportunity, you can become an overnight success. Remember, Jay Walker, whom we talked about at the beginning of the video, who joined the Billionaires Club in under a year, took advantage of the dot-com bubble. Although that his wealth wasn't sustainable, he still managed to keep hundreds of millions of dollars. Another example is Mark Cuban. He even once said, "You have to be lucky to become a billionaire, because if it wasn't for 1998 financial crisis, he wouldn't be a billionaire." I have an entire video about him, the link will be in the description. Instead of looking at the financial crisis and hoax created by the government or the 1% to rip off the poor, take advantage of it as they do. Understand how the system works, study the past crises to understand how and why they start, and be ready to be on the receivable side when the next one takes place. As you get older, your expenses will grow. Have you realized that every single year, one way or another, you spend more and more? $100 was a lot of money back when you were a teen. Now it barely covers your gas bill. And as you get older, your expenses will just keep increasing. That's the nature of our lives, especially if you start a family. Most people do not bother themselves about the future because they are making a decent amount of money today. But when they reach to a point where their expenses exceed their income, they start complaining that they don't make enough to invest. So if you do not make sure that your income is increasing every single year, soon you will trap yourself in a paycheck to paycheck cycle that will keep you poor for the rest of your life. And that's why you have to take the next rule extremely seriously. Wealth accumulates over time. As you can't grow a tree overnight, you can't grow wealth overnight. Remember, the earlier you invest, the better. With the power of compounding, you can become rich even with $100. No wonder why world's greatest investors started investing at the age of 11. What were you doing when you were 11? Here is a fun fact. You can make your grandchild a millionaire just by investing $1,160, which is equal to a price of a new smartphone. Because in 100 years, without a single additional investment, it will grow to over $1 million. You probably won't live by then, but I am sure that your grandchild will be thankful. Let's say he won't be greedy and will keep it for his grandson for another 100 years. It will grow to almost $1 billion. Of course, it's pointless to wait for so long, but the earlier you start, the faster you're going to reach to a position where you will be making enough to not worry about your bills again. It took Warren Buffett 55 years to make his first billion and just another 3 years to make his second billion. In fact, he made 98% of his fortune after his 55th birthday because of the power of compounding. Here you go. These are the 8 most important rules of money that you should keep in mind if you want to get financially free. So, what's your favorite one out of these 8? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.